Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined once again by my good friend Matt.
I'm getting dangerously close to quarantine, stay-at-home stuff that I'm considering starting Survivor from the beginning and just watching it all the way.
Oh man, like you have the time? You mean that like you're? Good?
I have the time. I'm so like bleh with everything, and I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
You should. I've heard that the early seasons are pretty interesting. I mean, just in comparisons to the new what it is now. Like, I've not seen anything before Samoa, so I do want to also eventually do something like that.
I've been watching a lot of like Survivor content on YouTube, so like I have a good understanding of the early seasons. But yeah. It would be interesting to go back and just see how things started. Because my earliest memory is watching All Stars, which was season 8. Actually no, I watched the finale of Amazon because one of the finalists was named Matt, and Matt didn't win. So I was upset.
That was your reasoning for tuning in for that.
I was like, I don't know how old I was, but no, we all
have weird reasons when we're young. I just thought that was funny. It's funny because I'm glad that you brought Survivor up because how we started doing podcasting. I believe the first podcast that we did in some capacity was a Survivor thing.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. And then we were doing Survivor, trying to do Survivor twice a year, although we ended up probably getting busy during the fall. Tried to do Survivor during those 2 seasons.
We did it for at least 3. I forget which. We might have done more. I know we did Worlds Apart. I know we did Koran, and I know we did Game Changers. Did we do the one before Worlds Apart?
I don't think so. Honestly, I feel like the only one that I remember I have a vivid memory of was it was that one guy that like everyone hated in his camp, and he just steamrolled to the end and won the whole thing by winning.
Oh, that was Mike. That was Worlds Apart.
That was Worlds Apart.
You kept saying Red Collar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't do San Juan del Sur, which was the Blood versus Water season, and then we didn't do Millennials versus Gen X. So it was just those 3 of Worlds Apart, Cambodia, and Koran.
But anyways, welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. We are today, figured we'd actually kind of carry what we were doing with the Who Stand Out segment and kind of carry it into next week. We kind of did like a quick recap of 16 teams. So I figured let's just do the other 16. And we'll start right away with that. And we'll kind of sprinkle in the news, some of the news that has happened over the course of the last week or so. We'll kind of sprinkle it into our lineup of what we're talking about. But I do want to lead with what has been kind of the story of this week, which has been players opting out of the NFL season this year. You saw a good fraction of the Patriots, about 6 or 7 players, especially their higher profile players like Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, their fullback, Danny Vital, a few other guys, Brendan Bolden, I believe. A lot of those guys for the Patriots out, so that was the team that was hit hardest by that. We also had Damian Williams, the starting running back for the Chiefs, opting out. We saw Devin Funchess, the guy that was the Packers cop-out at wide receiver, the cop-out at wideout, I should say. He's out for this season. Marcus Cannon for the Patriots, also gone, the offensive tackle. And the first player to actually opt out, the doctor himself, Lawrence Duvernay Tardif, I think is how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong about that. I'll look into that. But he as a doctor is opting out and for his health. But I also think that he might even be helping in this pandemic as well, which is really wonderful to hear. But I hope he stays safe. So, what's your reaction to all of this?
It's not surprising. I think I'm actually a little surprised that the number's not higher in terms of the number of people who are deciding to opt out. It's interesting to me that so many of the early ones were on the Patriots, though. I don't know.
It does. It really surprises me for the Patriots because I'm like, I mean, like you I feel like everyone wants to read a little more into it, but like at the same time, it's just like everyone has their own reasons, and they're all valid to try to opt out of the season and avoid any potential health risks that you're going to be dealing with when you go out on the field. It is very strange that it seems very centralized on where the Patriots are.
Totally.
It's very strange that team was hit the hardest. But again, like I said, I don't think that we've seen the last of it. In fact, I think we might get a bombshell or two still. I mean, the deadline is not even set for this. It's basically a week after the NFLPA signs the CBA, which the PA has not necessarily signed it yet. I think they're still negotiating just a little bit of things. Nothing major, but once the Players Association signs, players will have a week after the signage to opt out. I think as the deadline gets closer, whenever that is, that's when you're going to see big names fall. And what's going to happen when a starting quarterback decides, what, I can't do it. This is going to be hard to do. And I won't want to put myself or my family at risk. I'm opting out. Like, what is that going to do to a team? Like, there's so many factors that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But no matter what, like, anyone who opts out of the season is valid, and I don't like hearing otherwise.
Same here.
And you also were mentioning before the podcast about Damian Williams. Why is his opt out so interesting?
Yeah, so his opt out is really interesting, at least for fantasy related stuff, and that's where most of my news sphere is on football. Because Clyde Edwards-Helaire now, their first round pick, was probably going to take over eventually, but was still definitely going to play behind Williams, the should-have-been Super Bowl MVP. Just gonna put that out there. But now that Damian is out, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an excellent fantasy option just because he's going to get a lot of use and they're going to see what they have in him really early, and I think he's going to be great, and it's cool that he's now going to kind of get this opportunity.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Chiefs in a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely it's going to be interesting to see because that's a kind of like a preseason competition that has kind of been washed away now because I mean, who else do you go with at that point? I mean, the guy is clearly a star, and Helaire, he's your first round pick. Like, you have to rely on him. And real quick before we dive right into the teams, I just want to correct a pronunciation. His name is Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, the offensive guard for the Chiefs, who opted out of the first one to opt out. All right. Let us move on. We're gonna start kind of like tying in the rest of the teams that we didn't talk about last week. Kind of figured, we didn't want to leave any teams out of the mix now because it's regardless of whether or not it's gonna happen, we are getting closer to football season if things remain the way they are. So it's kind of good to kind of refresh ourselves on all of the teams as we see it right now. So let us start with we're gonna go in reverse division order this time. We're gonna go start with the NFC North this time, and why don't you start, Matt, with the Lions?
I'll start with the Lions. This is a weird team to talk about. They drafted DeAndre Swift relatively high, despite having Kerryon Johnson, who people thought could be this next great Lions running back who they haven't had since Barry Sanders, but clearly not working out for them. I think that this team will live and die from Matthew Stafford, because despite the rest of the team around him, Matthew Stafford might be the best playing quarterback in the division, and that's the division with Aaron Rodgers. I think Matthew Stafford, when healthy, played better than Aaron Rodgers did last year, or at least was used better than Aaron was.
I don't completely disagree. It's just a hard thing. It's just a hard statement to make.
I know. But Matthew Stafford
things
is a talented quarterback, and I think that
no, that's no doubt. That's no doubt.
Yeah, and if they get some things together on defense, they may have a chance to compete. But I doubt they'll be super successful. I don't know. This is a weird team. I honestly I want to see them lose because I want to see Matt Patricia go because I hate Matt Patricia.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna touch on that. Like, he's one of those hot seat coaches at this point, which it seems kind of harsh. I know that all these coaches and players they're being paid millions of dollars, and like all those dollars that should be going to like to the people on the front lines right now of things, but. It does seem harsh to think that if a team does not succeed this year that they would fire a coach because of the circumstances and how everything is just so strange right now. I mean, if you have a pretty normal NFL season, which I highly doubt, then yeah, I would understand it. But if things get shortened, if things get like tossed around and everything's just becomes so unusual, it's hard for me to hear an organization justify a firing. But I would, if you really don't see it with the coach, and I feel like Matt Patricia is kind of that guy that's like, he's had so many like already like people kind of talking about how he really is. It's not easy to get along with him. Mm-hmm. All these kind of storylines that have come out of the locker room there that are not painted him in a great light, where I definitely think he's a prime candidate to get let go. And I think the key there is going to be his defense. If the defense does not step up, and they lost Darius Slay, like they lost a very key part of that defense in the offseason. Like, if they can't step up there, then there's going to be issues.
Totally.
So we will keep an eye on that. All right. How about the Vikings for you? This team, it was like we were expecting this team when they went in to New Orleans to just get their ass handed to them because the Saints were like this Super Bowl bound team, even though they were a 3 seed, and then they defeated the Saints in overtime because Minnesota just likes making the New Orleans heartbreak. But I think right now the Vikings had a pretty stable offseason overall. Not a whole lot of turnover. They did lose Michael Pierce to being opt out. He's opting out of the season, so that's gonna hurt the middle of their defense right now. And Everson Griffin hit the free agent market and is still on the market. He potentially could come back to help that defensive line. But I know the Packers also are kind of considering signing him as well. I don't know. I look at this team. I think the one thing that did change for this team was that they no longer have Stephon Diggs. They traded him away. And they did get, who's the guy from Justin Jefferson, right? That's the LSU guy.
Yep.
That's who the Vikings drafted. Yeah. So
yes.
So they have Justin Jefferson now, along with Adam Thielen, who kind of had a quiet year last year. You now and you have to hope that Dalvin Cook, with his contract situation kind of up in the air, you hope that he ends up coming back, whether on a new contract or not. This offense can still do things. They've had their moments, and you no longer have Stefanski there. And you'll see but Gary Kubiak is there. Gary Kubiak is known for having some really great being a great offensive mind. And I think the big question for this team, weirdly, is the defense and how Mike Zimmer is going to kind of carry a team that does still have a great amount of talent on it. But it has not performed at like peak level like it was maybe a few years ago.
Yeah. The stuff with the Vikings, they're such a weird team because they are able to be relatively consistent in terms of how much they win, but there just feels like there's something missing to take them to the next level.
Yeah, I look at this team. I think they're still a legit team. Like, I think that I don't.
Oh, totally.
Like, I think that we were talking about last week, Mike Zimmer getting his contract extension. Like, that was well deserved. We'll see how they perform on the field this year. But Yeah, you're right. Like, it's just, I feel like there's still a big spotlight on Kirk Cousins, even though he did finally win his big game. But there was such a drop off in the San Francisco game that, when is this team going to get to the point where they could be a juggernaut? They're good and they get to levels of great, but can they be a juggernaut that can get past a 49ers or get past, well, I was going to say Saints, but they did. But you know what I mean.
Consistently.
Yes. Well, right, exactly. All right. Next up, the Bengals of the AFC North.
So the Bengals, the biggest story of them is the first overall pick, Joe Burrow, who is returning to Ohio to lead this team and be the face of the franchise for who knows how long. This is a weird-ass team, and I don't know how likely it is that they'll crawl up from first pick again. But I think they have obviously their future in Burrow, and with the cast around him, they drafted T. Higgins. They've got Boyd. They might have AJ Green. I think they do.
They should get AJ Green this year.
Yeah, but I mean, how good will he be? Is the question.
That's right. No,
Joe Mixon, great running back. Like, they've got a lot of stuff on this offense to do cool offensive things. They don't really have a great defense, though. So
that's the thing with the Bengals. It's like that was the storyline for them that last year, was how even with having like the Geno Atkins and the Carlos Dunlaps of the world, like they had such a horrible time stopping teams that it took them like, what was it, like 10 games until they finally were able to stop a team, and I think it was the Jets. Like like it's like they had a really, really rough time in that regard. But I mean, I'm not necessarily, I mean, I look at the secondary, I don't see it being like a terrible secondary. They did add a lot. They added a few guys from Minnesota, in fact, onto their secondary. They have Von Bell, came over from the Saints. So this is it is like, I don't think that this team's gonna be as bad this year on defense. I think that they did get better at near the end of the season, which is why they ended up having like, I think it was like 3 wins at the end, because that all happened near the end of the year. I think that's how they kind of got past that. And I still don't think about this team that the quarterback was the big issue for them, because
it definitely wasn't.
Dalton was not that bad. Like he was, but I understand you want a change of atmosphere, and Joe Burrow is such an amazing talent from his years in college. It makes sense that they went with him, and yes, like you said, this offense is gonna be very exciting to see how it goes. Ravens. That was we talk about the Ravens very lastly for the AFC North. The Ravens are, I'm a little like turned off by the Ravens. Not in the sense that they're gonna be a bad team. Not at all. They're gonna probably be top 2-3 AFC team. I'm a little turned off because Lamar Jackson's on my radar a bit. He's like, because like he's so insistent that his team signs Antonio Brown.
I've been seeing that.
It's that, and then he had like the trust Trump, like, or trust Donald or whatever fucking tweet that at Donald Trump or whatever. And there was that. It was just like there's so many questionable things with that. And there's those things that are turning. And if they sign Antonio Brown, I'm like I'm going to not really root for this team that much.
Yeah.
But what I will say though is that Lamar Jackson got voted the number one player in the league in the top 100 a few days ago. That was surprising because Patrick Mahomes was 4th. he was below, I think it was Donald and Russell Wilson. Russell
Wilson was 2, Donald was 3.
Yeah. There's the other 2 guys there. Look, not that all those guys are not great players, but come on, Mahomes the star of the league right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, this team though got better in the offseason, and you point, one of the big things you point at is the fact that they got Calais Campbell from the Jaguars.
That's huge.
That was such a big, for a 5th round pick. It was amazing that the NFL allowed that to happen. Like they're going to be able to have that, and
in before Campbell for a 5th, but Nick Foles for a 4th.
Oh boy, have you been hearing that? Have you been hearing that this offseason as a Bears fan?
Maybe a little bit.
I think the big thing with the team is its wide receiver core, and like that's like the big question is like you do have tight ends for days that you're gonna be able to rely on, but like the wide receivers could be better. Marquise Brown didn't have the best year, but had his moments. I mean. But I just don't think Antonio Brown's the answer there.
Oh, Antonio Brown's not the answer. Yeah. I think the Ravens are a really stacked team on defense and on offense, with the combination of Jackson and Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins getting the rookie start, and J.K. Dobbins definitely taking over from Mark Ingram after this year. Holy shit. This team is going to be deadly. And it was already deadly, but it's going to be deadly. They're gonna come down in efficiency from last year for sure, just because they were scoring at an ungodly rate that just can't be repeated.
Right.
But they're still going to be a very good team, and if they can figure out their playoff issues, they'll be good to go.
One last thing, I really want to see what the impact of losing Marshall Yanda is to this team, the longtime guard for them, because that was a big problem in the playoff game, was that the offensive line kept on collapsing, and losing a veteran like that, as an all-star, an all-pro in Marshall Yanda, might be a problem for them, but we'll see how that plays out. All right, next up. We have the football team. Washington.
The football team.
The Washington variety.
The Washington football team, who... Hold on, I'm going to sneeze because this team apparently gives me allergies. Sneeze is passed. This is a weird situation in a lot of cases. They got Chase Young, who is going to make a big impact right away. They have Terry McLaurin, excellent wide receiver. We saw a bit from Dwayne Haskins last year. They have a stacked running back room, all of whom are not, except for maybe Geis, not like an upper tier. It's weird. I don't think this team is going to do very well.
I agree with you. We've talked about this before. Where I stand on this team right now is that I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but the front seven, or maybe more specifically the defensive line, is freaking insane, because you not only have Chase Young, and that's your number 2 overall pick, but you also have Jonathan Allen, who you've drafted in the past. You have Ryan Kerrigan, who's been a long-time player on that team. You have Montez Sweat, who's played really well for that team. Darion Payne, another first-round pick for that team. Like, those are 5 really pretty decent defensive linemen,
totally,
that are going to be up front. And you do have Landon Collins still at safety, and Ronald Darby at quarterback now. You've picked him up from the Eagles. So and you got Kendall Fuller back from after you traded him away to get Alex Smith. So this team, I think defensively, is in a decent spot where I think that they could maybe be a little bit disruptive. On the offense, it is a big old wait and see, because if Geis could be what we thought he was going to be, and Haskins could live up to his first round pick degree, then okay, maybe this team does have a shot.
Yeah,
but
I can agree with that.
There's too many questions. There's too many questions across the board that we're just not too sure about, especially with we look at the stability of the organization as a whole as well. Like, how is the distraction of that going to play a factor as well in how they play on the field. So all of that's gonna be a huge factor moving forward. All right, the G-men. Do I even need to want to talk about my stupid team? The Giants. I'll just say this. I think that they're. I really don't like Gettleman. I just don't.
It's Dave.
It's Dave. He's just. It's really unfortunate that he is such an old school guy, because the way that he has structured this defensive line and the front seven in generally is just to create a whole bunch of big boy players, get a lot of hog mollies all up in there. But
what the fuck is that?
That kind of, you need more versatility in the front seven nowadays, but that you can't just have giant human beings take up a line and expect it to be successful.
That's the name of the team.
I get it. I get that. I get that full-heartedly, my friend. And it hurts me deep inside knowing that he's trying to ride the name right now on that sense. But we'll see how Jones progresses. I mean, he had a nice start, kind of fell apart near the end. He needs to stop throwing interceptions.
He needs to stop fumbling the ball.
I think that's what I actually meant, because I forgot how many interceptions he threw. But yes, you're right.
He only threw like 12
fumbles.
And I say only 12. 12 isn't that much for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, no, it was the fumbles. You're right. I forgot it was the fumbles. But then Saquon Barkley, I just always worry about. I think that he's great, and I think he can continue to be great. But I worry about him behind an offensive line that just lost Nate Soldier, who was a bad player, but that's more depth that is lost on this team now that he's opted out of the season. I don't know. I don't have faith in this team. I am at the point where I think this is going to be a last place team again. I feel like every single season people are like, "Oh no, don't, just watch out. It's going to be a second place team, first place team. Don't watch out. You're underestimating every fucking year for the last 3 or 4 years. Where has that gotten you people? It's not happening."
I'm not saying it's looking good for the blue people. But you have the benefit
of fucking Avatar.
Yeah. You have the benefit of at least of playing in the worst division in football, where if the Eagles are injury ridden again and the Cowboys fuck up like they always do, and Daniel Jones has a decent season, maybe there's something there. And maybe that would be more likely if you had Odell Beckham. Gettleman.
Right. Yeah.
How's Jabril Peppers doing?
Not great. I don't even remember him from last season. I mean, I know he's there. I know he's there. I know he exists. I just don't even remember him existing last season. I mean, look, the wide receiver group is in not as bad of a shape as I thought. From past years.
Shepard, Tate, Slayton, who I think is
Slayton's excellent.
Could have a nice breakout.
Yeah, and you have Ingram. And Ingram, of course, you have to worry about his health, but that team as a whole is it's pretty, the weapons are solid, and if Daniel Jones could play well, it's great. I worry about the offensive line, and I worry about the defensive line, and the front seven especially. And the secondary. The secondary, I'm not, I look at it, and I'm like, I don't know. This
new head coach.
Looks that great. And they lost Baker too. This is the other thing. They lost fucking Baker because he fucking robbed a bank with a Seahawks quarterback.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation was. I don't even know if it was a bank, but fucking he's on the exempt list.
Yep.
Oh god, it frustrates me. I haven't had a good Giants read in a while. Thank you for that. Let's. I don't know why I'm thanking you, but thank you. Let's move forward here. Into I'm losing my list here. Okay, Jaguars. Let's talk Jaguars. More frustrating team.
Yeah. What the hell, Jaguars? Remember 2017? I think the good place cursed the Jaguars. And I've talked about this on the podcast
Tom
before.
Coughlin cursed the Jaguars.
Well, they did, but like I'm sure I've talked about this, maybe not in this podcast specifically, but there when the Good Place seasons 1 and 2 were going on, the Jaguars were bad, and the show, rightfully so, made fun of how bad the Jaguars were. And then in 2017, the Jaguars decided to be good, and then it made the show's jokes kind of funny. And then in the next season, the season started airing in the fall. Jaguars had a decent start. But there was a joke on The Good Place that Maya Rudolph's character said, the Jaguars are actually good now. Blake Bortles may or may not be a good quarterback. Jury's still out on that, but they're winning a lot of games. After that point, I don't know how long the losing streak was, but it was at least an 8-game losing streak for the Jaguars.
And they haven't really won much since.
So I'm not saying The Good Place cursed the Jaguars.
You might be able to count on the hand.
But I mean the poor decision making and trading away your entire season-winning defense may not have helped either. I mean, the bright side is Minshew is a fun character that that embodies the chaos of Floridians, and DJ Chark had a nice breakout. So they're combined.
Way to put that.
Them and Fournette, who isn't great but is decent enough. They could do some things, but they just don't have the personnel right now to do anything. And I'm surprised that Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone are still around. Like, I'm legitimately surprised that Marrone has a job this season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really... I look at Marrone and I'm like... I never really see him as a terrible coach, but I understand getting rid of him. But, yeah. What I don't understand is keeping Dave Caldwell at this point. Because it's like, dude has not had a good draft class in a while. Like, why are we keeping him around? With that said, though, Josh Allen was a rookie last year, was drafted by him in the first round, and had a pretty kick-ass season that was parallel to Nick Bosa. And it was kind of surreal because I actually, like, looked at the, we were just talking about the NFL Top 100. Nick Bosa was, I think, like 17 on the list, and Josh Allen wasn't even on there. Dude's underrated as hell. He played very, very well on the team. I mean, that in terms of defense, like, that's really the highlight right now. You have Joe Schobert, who you just got for the Browns, and Miles Jack. You know, you those are all guys that you're hoping can be successful still. But I mean, yeah, you got rid of a lot of your hallmark franchise players. AJ Boye is no longer on the team. Campbell's no longer on the team.
Jalen Ramsey.
Right, Ramsey, that's from last year. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, and even the wide receivers, like, you look at the list right now, and, like, there's some that could do well, but we don't, like, D.D. Westbrook had his moments, but, like, was, like, okay still, regardless. DJ Chark had his moments, was alright.
DJ Chark was great last year.
He had his, yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely had a good connection with Minshew, but I don't know. There's a lot of questions there. They did draft Chenault from Colorado. They also got Tyler Eifert. I forgot about that. right, me too. So that's a thing, I guess. Well, Leonard Fournette, that dude is now, I feel like, overstaying his welcome with the Jaguars. Yeah. I'm very
DJ Chark did have 1,000 yards last season. Fun fact.
He did. Why did I say Westbrook first? I don't know. The Jaguars wide receiver situation just is confusing enough to me.
It's Chark and then it's muddy.
Yeah.
Chark is the number one.
Yeah. Chark. I just forgot about Chark's existence altogether, I guess. But okay. Yes. But yeah, no. So at least if you could get some more production out of that, and Leonard Fournette cannot be terrible. I don't know. This team is not going to be up to snuff with the other three AFC South teams, though.
No.
Speaking of, one of those teams is the Texans. And boy, oh boy, has Bill O'Brien been put on the fucking barbecue and roasted Perfect with barbecue sauce. He is like good old Texas barbecue. I don't know. I think every accusation of like he did a really bad deal with DeAndre to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins is like 100% valid.
Absolutely.
And I will like I totally like anyone who criticizes Bill O'Brien as a GM. I get it. I totally do. As a coach, I would still stand by Bill O'Brien as a coach. I just wish he had someone above him that can maybe tell him not to fucking cross the freaking...
Not to trade DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips.
Yes. Yeah, they're a pretty good bag of chips, though.
I don't care if they're barbecue, Bill. David Johnson wasn't worth it. I'm sorry.
But
you have two D Johnsons on your team now.
I think that the Texans could still be a good team this year. I don't know if they're going to win the division. I've kind of backed off of that, but I have so much faith in Watson. I really love Watson. He's so much fun to watch. We've raved about him so much. But like you got the Johnson brothers. They're not brothers, but they're both Johnsons. And you got Fuller. You got Brandon Cooks there now. You got Randall Cobb. You got Stills. Like you have all these players here that, I mean, it's not, none of them are DeAndre Hopkins, but still can keep the offense afloat. The big problem though is the secondary though. I don't trust it.
I will say this: they don't have the stalwart defense that they once had.
Yes.
I will say this: if Will Fuller is healthy the entire season, then I won't care about the Hopkins trade because Will Fuller will be unstoppable. Because when he is healthy and when he plays a full game, he is an unstoppable man.
Mm-hmm.
But he never stays on the goddamn field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's frustrating because you see the talent and it's always there. But this is just a player who can never deliver that consistently. And if he did, holy fuck. But
absolutely.
He can't.
I know. It's,
add
so
that with Cooks, who had a bad year last year, but before that was extremely consistent in every situation that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not doomsday for this team, but you still traded away I would argue, the best wide receiver in football.
Do you know that I just realized I wanted to say something during the Jaguars segment, but I forgot to, and it just related to wide receivers that need to be on the field more, or at least in this case hasn't been on the field in 7 seasons. Do you know that the Jaguars had a first? Do you know about Justin Blackmon? Do you know who I'm talking about when I say that?
No.
So Justin Blackmon is a first-round pick from the Jaguars back in 2012. Okay. Had a really great start to his career. Then only played 4 games in 2013, and I think from then on he had been suspended from the NFL. I don't know for what reason. Again, he is still to this day on the roster, but has been suspended every season since 2013. It is 2020. Let that sink in. They have hung on to him for so long in the hopes that maybe one day it
Why?
has. I don't know. I saw that and I was like, wait, are you kidding me? He is still on that team? I remember them talking about him back when I really started getting into football in 2014, 2015. For as long as I've been into football, he has been on the Jaguars. And he has not. I have not seen him on the Jaguars.
That's wild.
I just when we were talking about the Jaguars earlier, I saw that and I just forgot to say it initially. It just blows me away. Let's move on here to, you want to talk about the Saints. The Saints.
I'd love to talk about the Saints. The Saints who, 3 years in a row, seemed like the team that would make it to the Super Bowl and make everybody happy. And then they had heartbreaking playoff losses 3 years in a row, one of which inspired a rule change that didn't stick. They just said, "Here you go, Saints fans, stop yelling at us," and then took it away because it was bullshit. Yeah. What more can you say? This, like, top to bottom, this is one of the most consistently stacked teams in the NFL. They have a great defense. They have a great quarterback. They have a great running game. They just added Emmanuel Sanders to be behind Michael Thomas, the other one who I would maybe consider the best receiver in football. It's hard to see where this team goes wrong so often. And they just get so unlucky where it counts the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're
absolutely.
Like, I other than maybe the 49ers, this is the team to beat in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean,
and you will beat them in the playoffs. That's that's how it's been.
It's definitely it's definitely surreal that how this team kind of crumpled at the end. It was like the offense kind of slowed down a bit, and the defense kind of started to give way a bit. But it was still, I mean, it still has been a very strong team, throughout almost everything else. And I think the only thing I can't even think of a single roster spot that I'm really worried about, because now you have Emmanuel Sanders now with Michael Thomas pairing them up. Like
you have Jared Cook, that's and Latavius Murray.
Yeah, like you still have all of these factors here. The defensive line's always going to be great with Jordan on it. Maybe you have DeMario Davis, who had a standout year last year, as well. Like, I mean, secondary might be the issue. Maybe some concerns about that. But then you've got Malcolm Jenkins from the Eagles, who hadn't played amazing recently, but is still a really good, been a really good player at other parts of his career. It could definitely play a factor. Yeah, this is how insanely deep though this NFC South is. Both South divisions, I would have to say, are really freaking deep, because I really, like, it's hard to find. I mean, you have the Jaguars and Panthers as being like, Panthers I think still have the potential to be decent this year.
Panthers are going to be better than the Jaguars.
Right, Jaguars I think are just they're probably gonna be a mess, but like everyone else, like I think every other team,
tank for Trevor,
is still gonna be very good, like, and so it's gonna. I'm very curious about all that.
Yeah, and NFC West is the only other division that I can see being the most. NFC West is the most stacked.
Yes, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. Let's talk Falcons now. The Falcons, oh boy, I forgot that they changed their uniform.
They did. Gamer chair.
I just pulled it up. I keep on loving that you refer to it as a gaming chair. That's so
It's
funny.
the gamer chair. It's the Shadow the Hedgehog uniform.
Oh my god. God, can that be canonical? That'd be great.
Yeah.
We have to...
Who drafted Shadow? That Mansfield did.
We did already assign stats to him. I would love to do a segment at some point soon where we assign a video game mascot to be a mascot for an actual NFL team. I feel like
seems appropriate.
I feel like Shadow would be kind of perfect for this Falcons team at this point.
Yeah.
But regardless of us, crapping on their uniforms a bit, this is Dan Quinn's chance. He got his second chance because his team started to play well near the end of the year, and like this is his opportunity to now deliver a product that's worthy of at the very least get into the wild card round. And offensively, I think they're in really good shape. I mean, they always are, but like Matt Ryan continues to be a great quarterback. You do have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And didn't they draft someone too, or pick up someone else during the offseason in terms of wide receiver? I mean, I know they got Todd Gurley. Like that was their big running back.
They got Hayden Hurst for tight end.
That's it. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that and Hayden Hurst he did not have that much of a standout year with his 2 years with Baltimore were not really very standout, but as a first round pick, I mean that's still he could definitely deliver. Totally. Who knows? And I mean they're gonna get their offensive linemen that they lost back for the start of this year. I mean obviously barring an opting out or another injury, knock on wood. It's just gonna be the defense. It's the defense that's gonna be the concern all the time with this team.
Right.
When it comes to can they have they got Dante Fowler from the Rams, and they still have Grady Jarrett who's excellent on the front line there. They still need to see something from Takaris McKinley. It's just interesting. Did they draft in the first round? I forget who they got for the first round.
They drafted in the first round. I forget who it was. Let me look that up.
Yeah, because I remember. I just AJ Terrell. That's why, because it was like one of those guys that was like kind of under the radar, wasn't really considered as a big time player. So that adds to the secondary though, because he was a great cornerback for the Clemson. And if this team could finally step up and be the Dan Quinn defense that he's always wanted, and the offense could be the way it is, look out Saints and look out Bucks.
Matt Ryan is going to ball out this year.
Yeah,
that's with his supporting cast, he's going to ball out. I think current Todd Gurley is better than last year's Devonta Freeman. Obviously, Devonta Freeman was not who he could have been last year. And neither was Gurley. But if Gurley can do a little bit, and even just a little bit in the passing game, combine that with having Jones and Ridley, and I am a huge fan of Calvin Ridley, and not just because he's on my championship-winning dynasty team, but just in general. And add a Hayden Hurst, this is going to be a great offense.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's just the defense that you need to see step up.
Yep.
Real quick, NFC South news: LaShawn McCoy is now a Buccaneer. Has signed with the Bucks. Was really quiet last year. In fact, I think was inactive for most of the playoffs with the Chiefs.
He was, yeah.
So we will see how LaShawn McCoy fares.
I saw Shefty tweet out, this could be the starting five for the Buccaneers, and it had LaShawn McCoy as the running back. But Ronald Jones is going to be the starting running back.
Yeah, Ronald Jones, I don't know
Ronald
why
Jones is better than LaShawn McCoy right now, which is weird to say, but...
No, I mean, he had a better year, Ronald Jones, last year. I think people are looking at the name a lot more than the product that he's put out recently.
LaShawn McCoy just isn't good anymore, I'm sorry. That shouldn't be hot taking, but...
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, if he was good still, he would not have been inactive as often as he was
exactly.
near the end. So we'll see how all that fares. All right, moving on to the AFC East. We talked Pats and Bills last week, so let's move on to the Dolphins.
The Dolphins are going to have a quarterback competition between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua. Obviously, everyone knowing that Tua is going to be starting by the end of the season. The question is just if Fitzpatrick is starting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to feel about this team. They acquired Jordan Howard and Matt Breida as running backs in the offseason, which I think are both great adds. Jordan Howard, I still have a huge soft spot for since he started on the Bears. And I think he still has a ton of talent and is going to be a great rusher for this team and being overlooked a lot. Yeah, this is such a weird team to talk about because you don't know what all these new pieces are going to do, essentially.
Yeah. I think the big question that's over this team is just Tua. Like, is Tua Tagovailoa gonna be like is he gonna end up starting the first week, because he was cleared recently to play?
Yeah, I'm not worried about Tua's health at all.
But will he be able to play the same way that he did before the injury is going to be the big question. I think we all would agree that the Dolphins are still a year or two away from really competing at this point in like a major setting, but I think you have at least reached the next step where, okay, you have a little bit of foundation in basically every single corner of this roster. It's still not great. Like, I don't think anything really is still great for this team, but no. You see a foundation being built in a lot of the places. Like, it's not the black hole that was last season. I don't think going into the season, like it's they're in a little bit of better space this time, which is what you'd want out of a team that's rebuilding, is some improvement from the year that they are starting their rebuild. And let's talk Jets. And I know that we waited almost an hour into this podcast and we have not talked about Jamal Adams. We are going to now. But before I even touch on that, let's look at things from the Jets' perspective right now and where this team is. Because I think one thing that was kind of surreal about the Jets last year was that we all kind of viewed the Jets as just being a crappy team, as they usually are.
But they went 7-9.
But even without, like, you basically take away the last 4 losses that they had, they down the stretch they went 7-5. You know, like their last 12 weeks of the season they went 7-5, and that included only 2 losses to the previously winless Bengals and to the Ravens. So the Bengals, that's like 2 different, points of view of having lost to the Bengals and the Ravens. That's a little 2 different worlds type thing going on there. But this team, I think what was really underrated about this team was its defense. And they have, it's not like this team still has a bad defense. I think they still are pretty good up front. And in this just Jamal Adams trade, they got Bradley McDougald, who had been a starting safety for the Seahawks, who's actually pretty good. Like, he's not a bad player. So
no.
And considering the fact that the Jets got that plus 2 first-round picks, like, I think the Jets I don't want to say annihilated the Seahawks, because I think the Seahawks got some good value there, but I think they fucking kicked ass in this trade, the Jets.
Yeah, good on the Jets. It's hard to dunk on this trade.
Yeah. But I guess the big question is going to be the offense. Sam Darnold had his issues. And
he had mono.
We forgot about that. But he has some inaccuracies at times during the season, and I'm curious to see how he improves. Le'Veon Bell needs to improve. He had a really rough time behind the offensive line, and it's supposed to improve this year.
Yeah, and Le'Veon Bell, up until last year, always had a great offensive line. And now he can't do what he usually does because the offensive line is worse.
Right, because the thing is, what made Le'Veon Bell so great and fun to watch was that how patient he was behind the line. He can't be patient when the defense is getting through the offensive line easily.
Yeah.
But maybe with the addition of Mekhi Becton and maybe some just general improvement across the board from the offensive line, things could get better. We'll see.
Can you imagine this team led by someone that isn't a butthole?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that, if I had to look at another guy that could be fired in this pandemic season, it's maybe Adam Gase, because of maybe his likability is down the drain. With that said, though, like Jamal Adams was blasting Adam Gase basically as he was leaving the building. But Le'Veon Bell kind of it sounded like Le'Veon Bell. I don't know necessarily was defending Adam Gase, but it made it sound like he was going after Jamal Adams for like recruiting him to the team and then leaving, dropping a hat.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I do believe. Oh, and by the way, Frank Gore's on this team.
Oh yeah.
he's still around. So I just don't know. I'm at that point where I don't quite. Adam Gase, he has good ideas. In execution, they're not good, and he just doesn't have a good personality. But we'll see if he maybe adjusts this year. I don't know. And the wide receiver core, by the way, Denzel Mims is going to be. I think he'll be an underrated star for this team to replace, especially to replace Robbie Anderson. Like, yeah, he'll be good. Okay. Moving on to the NFC West. And we did touch on the Jets a lot on this last trade. We'll talk about the Seahawks in a bit, but first, let's talk about the 49ers.
49ers, other than wide receivers, 49ers are an insanely stacked team. Great defense, decent play from quarterback, as good as you need, and as good as you need with Kyle Shanahan running it. Two great running backs. Raheem Mostert got an extension. They made amends so that he wouldn't hold out or anything, and him combined with Coleman are going to be amazing for this team. Big questions at wide receiver. Debo's not going to be able to start the season. I think because of an injury. They drafted Brandon Ayuk early, so there's a chance he could fill in a role. They still have Jalen Hurd, who they drafted last year, and then obviously they have one of the top end tight ends with George Kittle. Still have Richard Sherman on defense. This team and Nick Bosa, this team is not to be trifled with.
Javon Kinlaw, that is the guy that they drafted, I believe, with the DeForest Buckner pick.
Yeah.
That is, and he was a very highly ranked defensive lineman for this draft. Like, if he plays, he has the production that Buckner had, even though they trade Buckner away. Like, holy crap, this team is still good. They did lose Joe Woods, who was a significant player, a significant coach on the team, I should say. But that was really their only like massive loss. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, yes, is a big loss as well, and Deebo Samuel. We'll see how his health pans out, but I think that when we looked at this roster last year at this time, we did not think that this was a Super Bowl caliber team. This is a Super Bowl caliber team, like, and because and especially since this is the roster, most of the people on this roster made it to the Super Bowl this past year, and I don't see that slowing down. I think this is going to be not a lot of turnover for this team, and I think it's going to be a good thing for them moving forward. All right, Seahawks. So as we mentioned, they now have Jamal Adams, which is freaking insane. So he's basically now going to lead the new era of, I guess, the Legion of Boom, like Legion of Boom 2.0, I guess, if you wanted to go with that. Because, I mean, they have a young secondary that is working pretty well for them. And I think the big problem with the team is they lack really good pass rush. But they still have some decent players, on the team. I mean, obviously they still have the greats in Bobby Wagner, and KJ Wright, but I think Bruce Irvin is back on the team now too.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he was he was with them in their Super Bowl run initially. I think really, like, I have some questions about, like, Jarron Reed is, like, I think the best defensive lineman that they have right now. I'd be curious to see if anyone else really stands up and has a kick-ass time. But that pass rush is a little concerning right now for the Seahawks. And I mean, with that said, though, like, I look at the rest of this team, it's still kind of stacked the similar way to last year. I think that they'll still be good. Seahawks usually are. They drafted Jordan Brooks for a linebacking role but I which was kind of surprising because like I feel like they still lack depth on like offensive line as they usually do, and also just generally like they have DK Metcalf and they have Tyler Lockett and like that's gonna be kick ass for them. The running backs Olsen. And they have Greg Olsen now. Yes, and they have Luke Wilson as well, who's done well for them every once in a while. I just the running back situation's all over the place to me because you have Rashad Penny, your first round pick that hasn't done anything. You have Chris Carson, who had a pretty good year, got actually on the top 100, but is like who knows? Like he hasn't really shown to be like the number one running back all the time. And then you have Carlos Hyde in the mix there as well. So like I just don't know the running back situation.
Chris Carson.
You think it's gonna be Chris Carson all the way?
Absolutely. And I think Chris Carson's gonna really, really be solid in the role.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll try to trust it, but like it's that's just always an issue with them is getting that running game going, especially with the offensive line not always being the strongest either. That's
the thing though. It's worked out for them running the ball. Like pretty much Pete Carroll's entire coaching career for them, running the ball well, and stopping on defense, and then asking Russell to bail them out whenever they need to, and Wilson always does.
Right, so that's what I mean. Like the running game only works for so long for them.
I know.
Like you need someone that could be a little bit more. I feel like I need to see more from Carson to really be convinced that he's going to be like the guy for them.
Yeah, I think Carson will do enough, combined with Russell Wilson being the type of player who can put the entire team on his back and win the game.
Yeah.
I think the Seahawks. I obviously they got second in the division last year. I think there's a chance the Seahawks take it from the 49ers.
All right, interesting. All right, so we'll see how that goes. Last two teams, we'll go through them quickly. Let's start with the Raiders.
Yeah, I didn't even realize we had another division. Holy fuck! The Raiders are in a new city in beautiful Las Vegas. Their stadium looks like a toilet seat, but and that's kind of how their games felt last year. But they have some decent pieces. I think that Derek Carr is an alright quarterback. Josh Jacobs is a fantastic running back. They added Henry Ruggs. Did they do much on defense?
They didn't. I don't know if they drafted high on defense. I actually I'm not too sure. I don't think they really did a ton.
So they
got Corey Littleton from.
They got Corey Littleton. They
got Corey Littleton from the Rams, that's a pretty good guy to get.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got
from there it's like you got
Kwiatkowski from the Bears, who I liked last year.
That's right. Yeah, he had some good moments there.
Yeah. So there's some pieces here, but this feels so much like 8-8 is their ceiling. Like they're gonna be between a 6 and an 8 win team.
They also drafted Damon Arnett was their second first round pick.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like this team is just trying to become as offensive heavy as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you got they got Henry Ruggs to be like basically their lead wide receiver, along with having guys like Aguilar and Renfro and Tyrell Williams. Yeah, they got
Williams,
Zay Jones,
Tyrell Williams,
and then was it Keelan Doss, like the really like the guy that everyone loved from like from preseason and stuff.
Yeah. Darren Waller too.
And yes, Darren Waller had an amazing year and Jason Witten. Jason Witten's with them on the team, and then Josh Jacobs. Like I think the offense is going to be really good this year, and I think they still have one of the best offensive lines. I think. I mean, you got Rodney Hudson holding down the center. Like he's their best offensive lineman in Rodney Hudson, but they still have Trent. They have Trent Brown now, who came over from the he came over last year for them, from and didn't have an amazing time, but he did relatively well. The guards are good. Gabe Jackson, incognito, which I mean, who knows about that, but like overall, like the offense is going to do well, and then you do have Max Crosby, who had a breakout year for the team, and Cleveland Farrell, we'll see if he breaks out eventually for them. So I mean, you got some players. You got some players here. It's the foundation starting to really be like built for the Raiders. They got close last year, and I think they got better. So like, it's like, could they be the 7th seed? It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me for the Raiders. And last but not least, the Chiefs. I mean, I don't mean to dismiss the conversation. We could talk about the Chiefs, but I think we all kind of know the Chiefs are great. Like
Patrick Mahomes is the highest paid player. He has Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and maybe Clyde and Sammy Watkins and Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson to throw to. The defense is better than given credit for because they just paid Chris Jones. They still have Tyrann Mathieu, Kendall Fuller. They are a great team. They won the Super Bowl. And they didn't change much going forward.
Yeah, it's really like they're in really good shape. They did lose Fuller. Kendall Fuller is no longer.
Oh, they lost Fuller. My bad.
Yeah, he's with Washington, but regardless, the team is still really strong throughout. I think like maybe the cornerback situation could be better, but they were fine the way it was last year, and I'm sure they'll be good this year. Like they're destined to just continue to dominate.
Remember in the playoffs when they were down by 10 points every game and then won each game by at least 10 points? I'm not worried about their defense.
Exactly. All right. Let us close out the night. We were going to talk Joey Bosa's extension. It happened. You guys could look at the details. Let's close out the night here with some more roster assignment stuff. This week we are doing the Phenix City Phoenixes.
Who will rise from the ashes.
Yes, that
Reborn.
was our good friend Matt L's team. That's a completely different Matt.
Different Matt.
A different Matt from all the other Mats that you guys have interacted with.
We played D&D with a lot, but
yes,
I haven't had much interaction with him outside of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so this is the Minecraft team. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
We got the quarterback is Steve. So what do you think for this one?
You take the lead on this one because you're more of the Minecraft person.
That's fair. So I mean, Steve is like, if we want to go the Mario route here, or we did another player like this, where I feel like it's gonna offensively, defensively, ball handling, like all that's really dependent on who's like who Steve is, because Steve could be anything. Steve could be a builder. Steve could be someone who combats. Steve could be the explorer. Like there's you as Steve, you can be whatever you want Steve to be. So
yeah,
I mean, I think that we could just make it even across the board. Like a number, like maybe we could do zeros across the board, or we could do something else.
Zeros across the board would be interesting. I feel like Steve is the type of character to do that with.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. So you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right, next is Playa from Saint Row.
Saints Row.
I don't know Playa that well, so I'll look it up.
I believe they're just it's the player character, basically.
It is. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? I remember. So I think I remember when Matt drafted. He specifically was thinking President Playa from Saints Row 4, which is you play as the president and do a lot of batshit stuff because that's what Saints Row is.
Okay. So that's our maybe that should be our benchmark for this.
I'm going to say like very on the offensive side. Saints Row is a GTA type game.
Mm-hmm.
So like driving, weird shit happening, very aggressive. So I think offense is going to be very high for this character.
Yeah.
Like maybe a 4.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
I think that's fair. I mean, I was thinking that maybe like I was thinking of leaning towards the ball handling side of things too, leaning into that. But I'll go with you. We'll do offense.
Okay. Do you want to do 3 offense -2 defense -1 ball handling?
Cool, that works.
Okay. This is our running back, by the way. Steve is our quarterback, running back Playa, and now we have another running back in Dry Bones from the Mario series.
So this is like Dry Bones is interesting because it's like, have we really looked at Dry Bones as a character that moves fast?
We have not.
I mean, because like I feel like Dry Bones definitely has the durability to withstand like people tackling him. He maybe falls apart for a second, but he gets back up. He has the durability for it. I just don't know if he has the speed. Like I feel like weirdly, like he's both offensive and defensive.
Okay.
But I also ball handling it would be weird to give him a low ball handling stat, but like at the same time, I feel like
that's fine. I think.
Yeah, he mixes really like I feel like it's both an offensive and defense. It has strengths and weaknesses on both sides of that.
Okay, do you want to do 2 offense, 1 defense, -3 ball handling?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Next up are 3 wide receivers for this team. We're starting off with Peabody from Portal. One of my favorite games.
You play Peabody for me.
I played as Peabody. You played as Atlas. When we played through the co-op mode together. I always have to because 1, I like Peabody's design better, but 2, they represent mine and Chris's height and width proportions.
Hey, no, I'm kidding.
You're short. I'm sorry.
I'm short and subby. It's fine. I know it. I understand. I get it. But like so Peabody I would definitely say has like the jump power for a wide receiver. I think he has the arm length for a wide receiver. I mean, this is a strong offensive and I think ball handling character.
True. I would even define like, do you want to do 3 offense, 2 ball handling, and tank the defense?
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like Peabody is. I feel like Peabody dies with a click of a button by GLaDOS. Like,
true. Also true.
Like, so it kind of fits. I feel like that fits it.
Yeah. So 3 offense, -5 defense, and 2 ball handling. I think I know which stat is going to be high for this team.
Yes. Well, yeah, we've discussed it that we think that we have an offensive heavy team here.
Yep. Next up is for wide receiver is Kamek from Mario, the Magic Koopa.
You know what's interesting? I've been playing Paper Mario Origami King, and Kamek is among the characters that you that become your partner eventually. And Kamek, what's interesting about his story, at least the way they portray it in this game, is that he's very smart. He's a very smart character that does not get the appreciation he deserves from King Bowser. And I wonder if, like, I feel like as a wide receiver role, especially on the broom, could be fast. And I think he will be one of the smarter players on the field in terms of route running.
Yeah.
In terms of determining where the ball, the trajectory of the ball, and where he needs to be in order to get to that ball. I think he's going to be like, he may not be the most talented between the 3 wide receivers, but I think he's the smartest.
Okay, so how do you think that translates to stats?
I think that it would be 1 offense, 3 ball handling, -4 defense.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Because ball handling, I think, adds like he can handle the situation well.
Yeah.
Kind of, if we want to justify it in that sense.
Cool.
Enderman.
Enderman, also from Minecraft. This is
Yes.
an enemy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Teleports.
He does teleport.
Yes.
That is true.
They teleport around. They you don't want to stare at them for too long, otherwise they're gonna get pissed off. Maybe more of the more irrational players on this team potentially, but certainly runs fast if angry enough. So I think that you could definitely, I think this is like a good 2 on offense situation, and then we can figure out the ball. He carries things all the time. I don't know why we're gendering the Enderman. They carry the items around a lot, so I feel like ball handling would be on the strong side too, so we could do 1 for ball handling and then -3 for defense. I am so sorry, Matt, for your really
for
bad
your
defense.
Score.
We really apologize ahead of time here.
That's fine. It's how things are playing out.
All right, Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. Okay, so from the Mario/Donkey Kong series is Donkey Kong is big. He's going to have some defensive power, and is relatively on the slow side, and that's kind of maybe why he's on the offensive line. But I think that protectiveness is going to go into maybe a higher defense stat. He doesn't really use tools that much, so I think ball handling is going to be really bad for him. I'd be fine maybe doing 1 offense, 3 defense, -4 ball handling. What do you think about that?
I like it. Let's go
Cool.
with that. I like that we've made the offensive line kind of a mixture into the defense. I think I think
so too.
It works really well. I think overall when we're doing these stats things.
Yeah.
All right, Piranha Plant.
Piranha Plant, also from Mario. This is an interesting pick for O-line because it's very protective. You don't really want to go near them, but they're easy to kind of pick off. So I think this is going to have more average stats.
Okay.
Maybe
I don't imagine ball handling being a strong stat.
No, I was maybe thinking -2 ball handling, 2 defense, 0 offense.
Okay. I'll take it.
That work?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, Zangief, who I need to look up.
Both of us go immediately. Oh yeah,
Zangief was the dude from Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, okay. So you then, if you watched it, then you know more.
Well, Zangief was just the guy who he told Ralph, he was like, just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Trying to cheer up Ralph.
I see what you're. Yeah. So dude, this is a massive boy. This is a big boy.
He's big.
Looks
he's
like
scarred,
he can punch
Russian.
the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Has scars all over him.
He's gonna add some offense for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was even gonna say defense, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, if those are gonna be the 2, I think then we could just lean into that.
Sure.
If we want to do I don't know. If we want to do 2-0 -2 again, so switch the offensive defensive stats.
Yeah, I think that works for him.
Yeah. Okay.
I have no idea. We're on to defense now. I have no idea how to stat out the character Dig Dug from Dig Dug.
This was one of my favorite picks of the whole thing. So I was just like, wow, how in the world are we gonna do it? So what we learned about Dig Dug was Dig Dug was actually one of the draft. He was high enough where he actually was part of the draft episode where we announced him, and then you slaughtered the pick.
Did I?
You did, yeah. But
so Dig Dug's thing is that you gotta go try to defeat enemies. You dig into the ground, and then in some cases you can have this pump that can blow up enemies. It's weird. I don't know how that translates to defensive prowess.
I mean, maybe there's something that I wish we asked more questions. There's a part of me which is at the moment that we were like, wait a minute, can you describe to us a little bit more about what makes Dig Dug defensive? I mean, is he like going to dig into the ground and open up a hole for these defensive players?
There's a chance.
Monsters. Are you just gonna be like blowing up monsters as they try to approach? Like, is that something that like I guess that's a Dig Dug mechanic where like he just goes after monsters and like blows them up before they can succeed in whatever they're doing. I never have played Dig Dug, so I am.
There's not much more to it than that. It's an old
this
arcade
is all
game.
Guessing game for me.
Get the high score.
Yeah. So I mean, if we want to at least give it a little bit of a defensive stat, and then like not.
I want to do 2 and then -1/-1.
Okay.
Because that's all I can think of. 2 on defense and then -1 offense ball handling.
Okay, and now what about you?
All right.
I think you know Plants vs. Zombies more.
I love Plants vs. Zombies. Legitimately, one of my favorite, just like maybe top 30 games of all time, maybe approaching top 20. The original Plants vs. Zombies is such a fun game. Tower defense style game. Spudow.
I love this guy that was drafted, Spudow, yeah.
Yeah, so Spudow is basically it's a pun on a potato mine. It's this cute little thing. This is okay. When I search Spudow, this is from a game that I'm not familiar with. Hold on a second.
Spudow is huge. So
this one that you are looking at right now, that's like a full person, seems to be from Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, which is not a game that I'm familiar with. Because in the actual like original Plants vs. Zombies,
is he just like the head on the ground?
It's the mine. It's the head on the ground. Yeah. So that's what I've been envisioning.
Yeah. I think he wants the full body. I would be fine with giving him the full body because it would help his defense.
Yeah, but like having I was thinking about like having a potato mine like this as a super interesting thing to have on a team because it could be like you don't see him coming and then he's
sure.
there and he blows you up again. Both of his defense involve blowing up. Which might be some fines there.
It's so interesting because now you have these two elements. Now you have this, but the original usage of Spudow, which is that he was just a mine in the ground that you don't see coming. But then you have these rest of these instances with Spudow, who is literally a giant freaking potato man.
I don't know
who's walking around. So like I feel like in a way you want to factor in both things. Maybe having the main thing, the fact that he can blow up, but like, I think you play both hands there as much as possible. Would that be something that you would just have a decent defensive stat with?
I think you would just have a really good defensive stat. Because it's not there are Plants and Plants vs. Zombies that actively attack the enemies, such as like the standard pea shooter. You shoot peas at the opponents. That's more offensive. Spudow is used for defense. It's like, okay, the zombies get to this point, this is where we stop them. So bad offense, bad ball handling. I would even go 5 for defense.
Oh, okay. I was thinking 4, but go for it. Let's do it.
Okay, we can do 4.
Okay, 4 for defense.
4 for defense.
Let's do 4 for defense, and then -2 offense and -2 ball handling.
Cool. All right, Blaziken as the
Your
kick.
boy.
We're on the kicker now. Blaziken is one of my top 3 favorite Pokemon. Love it. It's got shit defenses, so that's gonna be like at least -4.
Holy shit! Okay.
No, it's really bad defensively, but it's got great offenses. And then it's the kicker, so it's going to be good at ball handling as well.
So you want to do like 2 offense, 2 ball handling, -4 defense, if you feel strongly about that, or do you want to do a stronger offensive stat and really take the defense, or like I don't know, like how do you want to balance it out?
It's good question. Blaziken I feel like would add to the offensive stat. However, and this is gaming a little bit. we only have a -3 total for the offensive stats right now. So, I don't know.
I go with your heart with that, with what Blaziken is, and we'll deal with the rest of it later.
Since Blaziken is a kicker, I feel like ball handling should be prioritized. So I'm going to give a 1 to offense, just because Blaziken is an offensive Pokemon.
Okay.
And then let's do a 3 to ball handling, and we can -4 the defense. Final stats: 12 on offense, -6 defense, -6 ball handling. Which it's so weird how these teams are playing out. I'm wondering if there's going to be a team eventually that has 1 super tanked stat and then 2 relatively solid stats, because we haven't had that yet.
Right.
It's all been 1 stat raised, 2 stats lowered.
Right, yeah, because we've kind of gotten it's been defense, then offense, or offense, then defense, then ball handling, and then we're like back to offense.
Yeah. So in this division, we have a team that's pretty average, like not excelling in one area or the other. We have a team that's excellent on defense. We have a team that's excellent at ball handling, and we have a team that's excellent plus on offense, but so bad at defense and ball handling.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we will work towards, we could definitely work towards, like, maybe even sitting down with Matt and, like, seeing if we need, if he, I mean, hopefully, unbiasedly, I'm sure he will be, you know, looking at this and maybe thinking, like, how things might be able to execute. Like we could do some like preseason games, quote unquote, with the stats as the way they are, just to see how it goes. And if we really want to adjust, we'll adjust.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now, and with the fact that everything lives and dies by a D20, having a +12 in something, it just feels like too high of a percentage to get variance for a game.
Maybe we could cap it somewhere.
Yeah, we can cap it at, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be 6 like the player stats are, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like we could have like a general, like you could have the stats the way they are, but like generally speaking, like teams can be like okay, overall, like this is going to be more than this, but like let's say like 7 is like the max offensive stat or something like that, or 8's the max offensive stat. That could be something that we can discuss.
That could also be, you know what that could do. And I know this podcast has been going on for a really long time, and this may not be interesting to anyone listening. But what that could do is it could just be injury insurance. So if a team goes above +7 or +8, if we said a +8 being the max a team can go, and right now his team's at 12, and they lose a player with let's say they lose Playa, and the offensive score goes down 3 from 12 to 9, and then they're at 9, but they're still at 8. Like that helps with insurance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like we can kind of maybe just keep track of it a little bit and be like we know the real number is 12, but we're gonna give this team a 7 to roll. And, like, if one team leaves, as long as that number does not fall below 7, they'll continue to roll at 7.
Yeah.
Like, so to speak.
Yeah. But we have kept you long enough. Those are your Phenix City Phoenixes. We are done with the East Division.
Yes. Yeah, so we got the Western Division. Next week will be the Anaconda. Don't want to mess with the Mountaineers. We got... It's gonna be like this is gonna be another, I think, offensive heavy team.
Oh, I definitely.
So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe this could be maybe this will end up being like a ball handling strength of a team. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. That's my ending line. But regardless, next week we'll be doing more of this, and maybe we'll do the NFL mascot idea with the gamer characters, whatever. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
But anyways, thank you all so much for listening. See you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.